This season of Destiny is all about arc builds and subclasses. We have a ton of perks on our artifact this season that buff and modify our arc builds, encouraging us to use arc weapons and subclasses. Today we're going over an in-game focused arc hunter build that will set you up for any type of content. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the Assassin's Cowl arc hunter setup, and we'll touch on that, but that won't be the focus of today's video. Today we're focusing on Star Eater scales and setting up a more universal loadout that you can take anywhere. It can counter any type of champion and will allow us to nuke bosses with our super and weapon damage. My name is Gray. If you enjoyed today's video, a like and sub greatly helps me out. Now let's get into it. The important thing to note before we get into the details is that I purposely set up this build and all of the mods to be able to swap between Star Eater scales or Assassin's Cowl whenever you feel like it. Both exotics are extremely strong for Arc Hunter, especially this season, so I wanted to set you guys up to be able to switch between them whenever you need. If I'm doing something like the new dungeon or a raid, I'll rock Star Eaters for that bonus super damage, but if I need more survivability or ad clear, I'll swap to Assassin's Cowl. Touching on those exotics, Star Eater scales grants us up to a 70% damage increase on our super once we collect 4 orbs of power after our super is full. This is really easy to do in content that has rally flags, but Star Eaters also makes it so orbs of power grant bonus super energy as well, allowing us to get our super back quickly in most situations. Assassin's Cowl of course allows us to turn invisible and heal after every melee final blow. This is the survivability king for hunters and pairs naturally with combination blow and a 1-2 punch shotgun. Regardless of which exotic you use, our subclass and mods will be nearly identical. Many of you might be familiar with this setup already, so feel free to skip ahead in the video, but it's always good to brush up on the fundamentals. We of course use Gambler's Dodge and the combination blow melee, as these two abilities refund each other, and I recommend the Pulse Grenade as it's great for stunning overloads with Jolt and clearing packs of adds. Our two aspects are Lethal Current and Flow State. Lethal Current allows our melee to jolt targets after we dodge, and Flow State will make us amplified after defeating a jolted target. These aspects are very simple on paper, but they allow us to be amplified nearly 100% of the time and have amazing synergy with our artifact perks this season, which we will cover later in the video. Our fragments are very straightforward. Spark of Magnitude and Spark of Shock will improve our grenade to make it last longer and jolt targets, which allows it to stun overload champions and have great AoE potential. Spark of Recharge allows our melee and grenade to regen faster when we are wounded. This helps with lowering cooldowns overall, but if you are using Assassin's Cowl, you might swap this out for Spark of Feedback for the added melee damage. Finally, we take Spark of Resistance, which grants damage resistance when surrounded by enemies. With our subclass dialed in, we have a lot of options to choose from when it comes to weapons. When dealing with any content with champions, I've been using the new Centrifuge exotic auto rifle paired with anti-barrier auto and a chill clip fusion for overloads and unstops. This allows us to easily counter any champion in the game. Centrifuge pairs perfectly with the build. It creates orbs easily and adds the ability to blind targets, especially once the catalyst is complete, which allows us to charge the weapon by simply being amplified. Feel free to use any other arc primary as an alternative as well. Trinity Ghoul is great for ad clear, and Ikelos SMG is great if you want to use an exotic in another slot, such as the Legend of Acreus. Feel free to experiment with your actual weapon loadout to find what works best for you. Just keep in mind that arc weapons are ideal for orb generation. Now moving on to armor mods, there is a dim loadout link in the description that will copy this to your character with a single click, so feel free to use that for yourself. But on our helmet, we take Arc Siphon for orb generation, and then Hands-On and Dynamo to generate super energy extremely quickly with our melee dodge combo. For our arms, we take 1 copy of Heavy Handed and 1 copy of Firepower to make orbs with our melee and our grenade, and Impact Induction to lower our grenade cooldown whenever we use our melee. On our chest, we take Charged Up for more armor charge slots and any resist mods that you prefer. For our leg armor, I recommend at least 2 arc weapon surges and 1 copy of Recuperation. This gives a ton of instant healing on every orb that we pick up and helps with survivability. Finally, on our cloak, we take 1 copy of Bomber for lower grenade cooldown, 1 copy of Powerful Attraction. This is a new mod that automatically collects nearby orbs when we dodge and is extremely helpful, and 1 copy of Reaper to create even more orbs after we dodge. Now you're able to take all of these mods and either exotic of your choosing into the game anywhere, but this season in particular, we have a ton of artifact perks that you definitely want to take advantage of. Looking at the seasonal artifact, it's extremely straightforward. Basically, if it affects an arc subclass, we're taking it. Be sure to take authorized mods arc and authorized mods melee to reduce your armor mod cost. Electric armor increases the duration of our amplified buff to 20 seconds. Thunderous retort increases our super damage when cast while amplified, but I've heard that this is bugged for Gathering Storm, so your mileage may vary a bit, but at least we still have Star Eater scales to buff our super damage. Amped up grants us damage resistance while amplified, which we are constantly. In the final column, we will take shock and awe. This creates a jolting explosion from arc final blows while we are amplified. This adds a ton of passive AoE damage that happens without us even having to think. Lastly, lightning strikes twice grants us reduced grenade cooldown after throwing an arc grenade, and that buff can be extended by any arc final blow. Regardless of which exotic you choose to use, either Star Eaters or Assassin's Cal, Arc Hunter is extremely strong this season, and this mod setup will allow you to swap between them whenever you feel like it. That's going to do it for the build, guys. If you enjoyed the video, a like and sub is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.